We're starting to put these expectations on how human we're willing to allow people to be.
We don't have honesty because I believe people are so obsessed with just wanting to be accepted and liked. We're building a world where disinformation can flourish.
Welcome back to another episode of the New Rules Podcast. It's your girl, Breezy, and I am here with Mr. Adrian Crawford. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is our first podcast back post BLS.
I know. First podcast back. I mean, TikTok is loving the New Rules Podcast right now.
TikTok loves New Rules.
They does, man. Instagram, get it together, man. Instagram needs to get it together. So
I don't know. Instagram?
Yeah.
Instagram sucks.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say Instagram sucks, but it definitely has taken a step
I'd rather
down.
scroll on TikTok than Instagram.
I don't disagree with you on that. I definitely don't disagree with you on that. So, yeah.
Would you rather go Instagram?
Wow. You don't? That makes sense, though. I'm
but
just so anti-everything. I'm anti-establishment. I'm just different.
Not anti-establishment.
So, I'm different, So that makes complete sense. You got time. Wow.
That's kind of nice. We were talking about screen time the other day, and Peyton, who we're hoping to bring on the podcast soon, her screen time is
insane.
What was it again?
It
was like 40 hours in a week?
It was like something insane. It was It was something crazy because right now, like, she doesn't have
she stays up till like 3 a.m. and just watches YouTube.
Yeah, she didn't go on TV.
What did this come from? Yes. Yeah.
That was mine because mine was like, because I listened to podcasts to fall asleep and it was like, oh yeah, you were up 50. I'm like, I felt like I actually did good last week. I'm like, what am I freaking watching? I wasn't even like, yeah. No, it's all good. No. So, man, what do we have today, Bree? What are we talking about?
Today we're going to talk about radical honesty. Right. There has been a shift culturally where people, in terms of what they view as a good leader, what they view as a good brand, includes radical honesty. Yeah. So just going to take a little bit to talk about what it is that we think about that. Do we agree? Do we disagree? What are all the nuances? To start us off, how would you define radical honesty? Well, actually, let's not go there yet. Okay. Let's go to why do you think that this is something that people really desire from leaders and from establishments? Yeah,
I think it's because, it's kind of like I compare it to this, like when you're, like your body, when you haven't had water for a long time, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, if you drink, soda, if you're drinking some other types of drinks, whatever, but then there's this moment your body like craves water. It's like, I feel like that's where our country's at right now because we just like been drinking so much crap that now it's like, it craves like truth and like it craves like purity of water.
That's such a kind analogy because I was thinking like, whenever like people in relationships and somebody cheats and they're like, I need to have your location. I need to have your screen time. I need to all of it. I need your iCloud password.
Yeah, I need that. We need to have the joint Facebook.
Stop.
When I see joint Facebook, I'm like, oh boy, they going through something. When they see joint Facebook.
So true.
Yeah, joint Facebook.
Well, it's just like you make a profile and then you just put it like Adrian and Wendy Crawford.
Yeah. When you get that, yeah. Normally they get that joint. No, yes, a lot of people
it's
do
especially
that.
like
all of a sudden you see somebody post for a minute and then all of a sudden you see them pop back on the scene with them.
Our era doesn't do this. Yes, but Gen X, Gen X, people will be like married, they'll go ghost, and then they'll come back with like a dual,
the dual account. You're like, ooh,
Facebook profile.
You're like, somebody did something, 100%.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Facebook is crazy.
Facebook is wild,
the
man.
Drama, the tea.
Dude, Facebook is like wild place to be.
People straight up like blog.
Yes.
On Facebook.
They do, and they get like 3 likes. You're like, dude, you spent all that time for 3 likes. It's crazy work right there. But no, I think it's the idea right now. We are living in a time where, people just, most communication, especially in leadership that we see, let's start off like, when I say this being just broad brushing it, especially from a governmental standpoint, but even like, I see it in a lot of corporate leadership, whatever, it's just people just aren't very honest with what they're saying. You know, and what I mean by that, it's not, some of it is like, yeah, these people blatantly lie, right? Where you're like, okay, we just saw you say this in this clip, and now you're saying something different. And you say, I didn't say that. That's that. But I also think people like, I think they've convinced themselves they believe in what they're saying, but their organization doesn't back that up. And so I think people are just craving just honesty. Even if it's bad news, people are craving honesty in today's world.
So do you think that that's a responsibility of any form of establishment? Let's start with institutions. Do you think that the role of institutions, organizations, brands is to be radically honest with consumers?
Yeah, I think it is. But I also think, you know, if it's with consumers or if it's with like the organization. Now, again, I understand leadership, you know, if say there's bad news, you don't want to you have a responsibility like a parent to know like what can people handle, carry, whatever. You gotta be smart about that. But the idea of not like saying anything's going on or anything's going wrong when people know, and you leave it to their own assumptions, their own imagination, and everybody's imagination is going to go to the worst possible idea. And also, here's what I think. I think there's such a disrespect today to people who like work for them, to the public, because what they'll do, they think people are just stupid. Like they won't like everybody knows something's wrong. Everybody knows like that's not okay, or things aren't going great. And they're like, oh yeah, this is the greatest economy we've had, or man, the business is going great, but they're laying people off. You're like, dude, it's okay. Like say that, because now it doesn't show respect. If I respect you, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, again, I know that, man, I'm not going to divulge everything to you because some of that stuff may not be yours to know, because that's the other side of it. A lot of times in today's world, everybody thinks they are owed all the information in the world. That's not true either. What we are saying, the information that you are giving is being able to be truthful about that information, being able to give people what, so they're not left to just kind of just assume that. And then that's why I think we get so much misinformation today, is because we have leaders who just will not say this is what's actually happening.
So I guess a question / an example. So have you seen the Tarte influencer trips? Mm-mm. Or like how it's a really big like brand marketing strategy right now for larger brands to take a bunch of influencers on a trip. Oh, okay. So they'll go to like Dubai, they'll go to Fiji, they'll go to all these different places. Mm-hmm. And it's like they give them free products, all the influencers are partying together, they're filming, and it gets promo, and everybody's like watching. It's kind of like reality TV in a way. Yep. Looking to see like who got invited on like the Tarte trip, and what are they going to do and film and whatever. And so the reason why I bring that up is because specifically the Tarte is a makeup brand. Do you know what that is? I
did not know, but I'm following out. I'm following. You're like, who got fired on the I was like, is that the name of these parties? Or these trips are called Tarte parties? Why is that an acronym? Tarte parties? I know. I was like, is that an acronym for something? I was like, I'm just rolling with it. But
no, sorry.
Yeah.
No, Tarte is a makeup brand, and so they are known for like being kind of on the forefront of these influencer trips. And so the founder CEO, she is very present on these trips, and she's very present on social media. Like she's almost like an influencer herself. Okay. And so that's, to me, when I think of when people say that they crave radical honesty, I feel like some of the expectation is for it to practically play out like that. Like that because we're so used to seeing people's inner worlds and like day-to-day routines, decisions they make, like lifestyles, that some of the expectation of like a good CEO or founder, a good leader, is that you have such high visibility to what it is that they do regularly. Yeah. Whereas even for her, I feel like over time, there's been a little bit more discourse with her because it starts to feel performative over time, because at the end of the day, it becomes an algorithm. Yep. I have to do this many clips. I have to curate this content. So at some point, you're not really even being radically honest about what it is that you're doing, because you choose what you're going to do based off what's going to look the best or show up the best. And so I don't know, how would you because I do think that there's something really true about people craving someone who is honest. I don't know if I would say it's radical honesty as much as I would say it's just authenticity. Yeah. Because I think that there's limitations that are appropriate there. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think what people are craving is what you just said best, is authenticity. I don't think, and the reason why I say that, because I don't think being honest is people having an access into like whatever your private life, where you have to have this big social media presence. I actually believe in the future, I think I heard Steve Stout actually say this recently, the music executive talked about how, anonymity will be the future. That those who actually will be the influential ones, or those people like are popular, those like, how did you go without people even knowing that you kind of existed, or that you don't have this presence? I think because you're right, because what it does is it builds performance, because when you go and you start saying, I'm getting likes, I'm getting momentum, I'm getting views, then what you do is you go and you look and say, okay, where am I getting views? Where am I getting momentum? Oh, okay, it's when I did this. And then you just start doing that. When it was first natural, now you just start doing that more. It does become performative. I think that what I mean by radical honesty is the fact it's the ability to just, if I'm communicating something to you, is being able to give you, I'm not hiding things from you. That doesn't mean I give you all the information, but I'm being honest with you. I'm not saying, hey, when there's noticeably a problem or something good going on, right? Like, let's do it on the other side. Something great's going on. The company's moving forward. And then I come to you, it's like, man, we suck right now. This company, we're awful. We're having one of the worst quarters. And you're like, man, our sales are up. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not being honest. It's just say, here's the information, and be candid with people. And I think it's about this, because here's what I think. Let's get to the root of it. At the basement of it, it's this idea of protecting your image. Leaders today are so obsessed with their image that they don't want to look bad, because if something's going wrong and you're the one in charge, then it looks like it's on you. And I get it, because we'll say it's cancel culture, which is true. I get all that. It still doesn't mean that we protect that. It's the idea, I think, as a leader, you got to own it, good or bad. That's why you get, a lot of times people who are leading get the biggest check. Leading get to make those decisions. But also, you know what you get? You get the greatest ridicule, the greatest criticism. And I think that leaders today have to own that. And at the basement, they're covering themselves. They want to look a certain way. And so I think we have to be willing, because we are building really a world now to where this is the danger of it. We're building a world to where disinformation can flourish. Because even the ones who you used to go to like leaders or news outlets and be like, okay, I'm gonna get real truth there. You can't anymore. Now, when you add AI into the mix, and now people are creating false stuff, I mean, our leadership and our cultures have created such an atmosphere for disinformation that no one really knows what's true anymore.
That's really good. This is going to make sense, but do you watch Love Island?
I definitely do not watch Love Island.
I'm reading all the cultural references
all the cultural
today.
references. I know what it is, but yes. But
okay, so the reason why I pull that up is because I want to talk about cancel culture too, though. Because if there's this kind of cry for radical honesty, but at the same time, there's such a lack of grace for people's mistakes. The reason why I bring up Love Island is because it's the first round where reality TV is starting to have a Gen Z audience. Like now we're watching Love Island, and there are people who are our age on it. And it's so odd because you can see how, because this is like the generation that's grown up with social media and whatnot, like they talk in sound bites. Like when they're having normal conversations, like you can tell when somebody said something and they're because they don't have access to social media when they're in the villa. But you can tell that in the back of their mind, they're saying something because they hope that it turns into a TikTok audio. It turns into like a sound. And so, but from like a viewer standpoint, are we still calling that radical honesty?
Yeah. Again, I think it comes down to people today, why there's cancel culture and all that. It's because people just want to be entertained. It's the mob. It's Rome. It's the Colosseum. Just entertain me. And when you can't entertain me, it's what? It's off with their head, right? It's like, you watch those old movies of the Colosseum. It would be like a thumbs up or thumbs down, like To Kill the Gladiator, if they won or not or whatever. And it's what we do. We just are now, social media is our new Colosseum. It's the place we go for whoever's there to entertain us. And when you don't entertain us anymore, you don't do what I think you should do, then it's off with your head. And I believe because of the craving of humans to want to be worshiped, for humans I need this attention. This is what you create. You create the applause, but then you're going to create this atmosphere for the boos and all that, and they will come right at you. I believe that is why what you do, why you do it is so important. That's what I believe authenticity is and radical honesty is why you do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a platform, speaking out on social, doing whatever. But what happens if you don't understand why you do it, then you will create this image, because once you find that, it's like a drug. You get that one hit of that one hit of that dopamine of, oh man, someone followed me, or man, this had 25,000 views. Okay, I got to go do that again. You now have become now you are on the road of becoming a caricature. You now become method acting because you're just going to keep acting to keep getting those views, right? And so I think that is what the big issue is. We don't have honesty because I believe people are so obsessed with just wanting to be accepted and liked in society that they'll do whatever to actually get that. And then they don't want to get canceled. And so when all of a sudden someone says something negative, they'll come out, they really believe something. But if society sees it as a negative, they will come out and apologize for it and all that. It's really interesting because the album that just came out, which I've been talking to you a lot about, the clips, they have this line they always say in it, like now, that this is random line that said, this is culturally inappropriate. Like everything, this is culture. And what they're saying, why I think they're saying it's culturally inappropriate, is because they are rapping in such a manner that it's very authentic. And the things they're saying, they really don't care what people think. And when I say it, nothing they're saying is like crazy controversial. It's just depth to it. I think that's what's culturally inappropriate. Depth today is culturally inappropriate. The fact that if you say something and you actually have like some weight behind it, it becomes culturally inappropriate because people don't even know what to do with that. We have been so built in sound bites and cotton candy type of things that when someone actually brings up something that's really good, your system can't take it because you can't process it because you've been used to just those sound bites. And I think that is what the world, but I will tell you this, it's a long answer to get to this. I think more than anything else what's going to happen, people are craving that now. They're going to start wanting to crave. They're going to want, no, I want something of more of substance than just the typical thing that's out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have something on cancel culture, sound bites, and then also what's culturally inappropriate. But the reason why I brought up cancel culture is because there's two girls who were live in action in the season, and at different moments, Love Island actually removed them from the villa because people resurface old videos of them saying like racial slurs. That's never happened before. Like when you think of reality TV, like think of Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We would never have Jersey Shore if cancel culture was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Shout out to DJ Pauly D.
Well, it's just very interesting because it's literally called reality TV. But we're starting to put these expectations on how human we're willing to allow people to be when they have visibility. And these are people who, yes, they're going to have a level of influence, but they're not running some of the most massive organizations. Like when they get out of it, they're going to have a lot of followers, but the level of influence they have is really it's so surface level, it doesn't even have a depth to it, yet we're still holding them to such intense standards. And do I think that what they said was okay? No. But do I struggle with like understanding, especially in the context of this is reality TV, like these people are going to be human beings. There's going to be things that they've done and things that they've said. And so now it's not fun and it's not interesting anymore because we're putting so many guardrails on how willing we are to allow people to evolve as humans.
So think again, goes back to the example I gave. When you look at Rome in the past, and what happened was that they would create these games, and the games were to entertain people. Now again, in those gladiator games, it was people. I mean, they're in there facing the best gladiators. They're putting wild animals in there, even during time where they would actually put even Christians in there, and it would be their entertainment. And then what happens? Then they would get bored with that. Then they have to amp it up, create the entertainment. That's all this is that social media now has just become the Coliseum. And what people will do is just curate the algorithm to continue to get people to stay there instead of getting us to think deeper about it. And that is one of my biggest fears. I've been asked before, like, what's one of my fears of the future? I think we have been so dumbed down in our culture to think critically that we live in the Coliseum, we'll continue to live in the Coliseum, and what will happen is that all these other things are happening outside. AI will continue to be that, right? And what's happening outside of that, people don't realize, like, we're on the brink of, like, from a global standpoint right now, very dangerous situations. I mean, from the level of wars, if China crosses Taiwan and they decide to go in Taiwan, what that signals to our world and what's about to happen next. We are living, I'm just using that as one example of some major shifts, and we're like watching, and again, I know I'm like the old guy. We're watching like Love Island and caring about this stuff. I'm like, people don't know how to critically think, and what's going to happen, those people are going to keep getting disinformation. That is why the way we go and we vote, and you have people like, how can we get to the place of, of a January 6th, I'm using that, or how can we get to the place of some of the riots that were happening in George Floyd, not for George Floyd, but the ones where Antifa now ties to this, and we're burning down cities, and you have a makeshift fake city up in Portland. How do we get here? Is because people legitimately have now been dumbed down to actually not think critically. So it's a deeper thing of what's actually happening, because we want our people false, those our celebrities false, because we are. Because it makes us feel fine about ourselves, even though we say we want real information. Because deep inside, yes, we want real information, but truth be told, we like false because it can justify us being as shallow as we are sometimes.
I think what you said about social media being like the Coliseum is actually really good. I haven't thought about that before. And now, as we were talking, I was thinking about how, because I don't watch Love Island. I'm having this conversation, and I'm thinking about how someday, somewhere, someone's going to listen to this, and I'm going to have said that I don't watch Love Island in one clip, and then I'm going to be talking about it in this clip, and people are going to be like, liar!
I know. It's just like, 100%.
No, I just hear about it from being around the girls. But so sound bites. I think one of the most frustrating things for me whenever I listen to like conferences or talks,
dude,
and the speaker will, be going through their talk, and they're doing incredible. They're doing really awesome. The points they're making are really good, but the parts that are the deepest don't get the most response. But the parts that are the most catchy,
yes,
everyone's like, especially in Christian
dude, Christian
that's
world.
So good. And I'm like, what?
Oh, it's funny.
What do you mean?
It's funny. Yesterday I was speaking, and I had a few moments like that speaking yesterday, and I honestly, in the middle of it, I almost stopped saying, hey, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Because I feel like when I hear people like, oh, that's what I start feeling like, man, what did I was like, was I just that shallow? But again, I think some of it are people who have been trained to like think a little bit deeper. But no, you are 100% right. People say stuff and they go and they clip this stuff. And I'm just like, and that's what drives me crazy in the Christian world. We're clipping stuff that's not very deep, and we're building into that. Here's the truth about it. When you actually look at, I think Jesus is one of the greatest communicators of all time. A lot of what Jesus would have said would not get any response today. It was so basic on the front. But when you actually went and walked away from it, you're like, hold on. What was he just talking about? There was so much depth and complexity. Like an example would be when Jesus was talking about the idea of praying. And he says, hey, when you pray, don't pray like the hypocrites. Go in your closet when you fast. You know what I'm saying? So when you fast, don't come out there looking raggedy with, put some lotion on your face. Don't be looking ashy when you come out, because you'll be showing like you've been fasting. But when he says, don't do this like the hypocrites, because people would come out and they would want to put on what we're doing. They want to put on the show to look like they're more spiritual. But actually, so you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, okay, man, don't be a hypocrite. That seems very shallow. But when you actually understand the context of that, actually hypocrites, that actual word were those who were actually actors. They would give that for people who were actors. So he says, don't act. So he's given that on a base level. And you hear it, you're like, okay. But like when you really look at that, he's like, oh, don't be method actors. There was depth and complexity to it. So many of his sayings were very simple. His parables would seem very simple. But man, when you unpack it, it was very deep because he would tie to the Old Testament. Anyway, that being said, people are so wanting you to give them information today instead of you giving them stuff to make them to critically think. And I'm saying, as a communicator, this is really difficult, because I don't care. You want applause, you want affirmation that you're doing well. So sometimes when you are preparing to speak or you are preparing to do something, you want those, oh man, what's that catchy thing that could really make people like, ooh, that was an incredible thing. Versus, man, when I walk away, sometimes people get frustrated because they walk away. Why do you feel like I got a practical takeaway today? I'm like, because I wasn't supposed to give you one. You're supposed to actually think about this, because I don't know what this looks like for you. I think we have to start developing people. And I think we got to start putting stuff out there that makes people think. That's what I hope this podcast does. We want to give you practical steps, but we want you to think about what is happening, what is going on, where are you at in all this, and then try to apply it to your context.
And I'll say too, I think Christian communicators, teachers, pastors, I think are some of the best communicators out there. I think they can run laps around any other arena.
They can, yeah.
And I also think that there is there's benefit to the attention grabber. There's a benefit to the catchy saying. But if you as a listener are listening to, let's say, like a sermon, and that's the one piece that you took away from it, you didn't listen to the entire thing. Because most of the time, even when I'm listening to somebody speak and I hear like the oohs and the ahs, I'm like, oh, that was maybe 10% of the point that they were really trying to make.
Yeah.
They only said that so that you would listen to the next thing that they say.
100%.
The next thing that they say.
100%.
So I think that there's usage of both. It's just you can't stop there. How do you remain radically honest while still being culturally inappropriate?
I think being authentic. Why it's culturally inappropriate today is because things that are inappropriate culturally is because it's the main thing, right? So it used to be where hip hop was culturally inappropriate because it was not the main thing. It was, but people, and they would talk about how negative it was and how it promotes violence and sex and blah, blah, blah. But they didn't say the same thing during that time about like rock and roll, but prior to that, but here's what happened when rock and roll started. That was culturally inappropriate, and then it becomes the main thing. I think today what's become the main thing has been fake. It's false. It's things that are propped up. And even the people who say a lot of times, oh, no, this is real, this is authentic, this is raw, this is uncut, it's still fake. It's now, it's like, oh, like the people who literally, this drives me crazy, so I'm going to go on my rant real quick, who set their freaking camera up to act like they're recording themselves. They record themselves getting out of the bed in the morning. Like it wasn't like your freaking camera was running all night and you just happened to wake up and catch it.
Wait, can I say something? Because I'm honestly so impressed by those people sometimes, because I'm watching and I'm like, I genuinely feel like I'm with you, like getting out of your bed. And I imagine, I'm like, if I were to have to do that, it would look so fake. It would not be interesting to watch.
No, and again, but here's what it is. They're great actors and actresses. Like to do that, you're right. I couldn't do that. I'm like acting like I'm sleeping. No, when I wake up, it just looks so fake. And but those are the things. Is that even things that we're saying this, oh man, just this natural. It's not natural. You've literally curated this. We have built curated spaces, and even the spaces that are said to be raw and uncut are curated. And so what's culturally inappropriate is people being real. Now, here's what that means. Like, I think our stuff we do is real because I think it's us. I think we like having the set, the way we film stuff, the way it looks. Like it's not like, oh man, this is real for us if we go sit in some like dingy garage, right? And so it's just raw and uncut. We don't care about aesthetics. No, we actually care about that. So that's real to us. I believe as long as it's real to you, you can tell that. That's why you can see people who curate things that are just, you feel it. That's why I love Jerry Lorenzo. Because he's in high fashion and they go, oh, this stuff's all curated. No, you can watch him do things and it's just like, oh, you can tell that's authentic to him. It's real, even though it's like this beautiful, it's aesthetic. The clothes he does is high end, but he does it in a manner that's really him. I also will say this that I think is really important. We just produce so much stuff today. And what I think the world's going to go to, I think society's going to go to people going back to the days of like taking their time to bring stuff out, because that's the stuff that matters, right? Like, again, going to this album, and why I'm so big on it is because it's guys who, two brothers, whatever, and they haven't produced anything in 16 years. Now, here's the thing. They've been working on this album now for a couple years. And they don't have, a lot of people produce albums, have all these extra songs that go on it. They don't. They say, if we're putting this on there, we're going to sand this thing down to it's like, it is what we want. We're not going to have any extra songs. They took their time. And when they delivered it, you're like, oh, it was like, oh man, that's like going to eat at like an incredible restaurant, like the one in Chicago, like Boulevard, BLVD. Like, it's like going there, right?
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Check it out.
It's like, it's going to there versus like, oh, I just went really quick to McDonald's. Like, and I feel like a lot of content, a lot of art, a lot of whatever, it's like going to McDonald's, and it's like to a point now where I'm like, this stuff is just like, and then when you actually have something,
and it's overpriced. Like McDonald's is overpriced now.
It is. It's so overpriced. It's like, man. And so like when you go there, it changes. So I think that's where it is. I think what the world is craving is depth now. They're craving things that have just some depth to it now.
I feel like this is so interesting because depth is so relative. People will say something and I'm like, oh, I thought this when I was 7 years old. And then people are like, wow, like this.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. okay. Like,
No.
if that's what you think is deep, fine. Do you think it's like that's just true? Like, depth is always going to be, well, it is true that anything will always be relative, but like, I don't know, because there is a lot of things of depth already available. Is it just like those things will become more popular, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think the things of depth are more of, it's this idea that I think it's like authentic, right? Like, for example, I'll give, like, for you, I joke with you like when you'll post certain things, right, on like your story or whatever. But like for me, there's complexity and layers to what you're putting on there because it's like really you. Like when you take pictures of oh, here's this my friend, or here's this food, or here's this whatever, it's something where you're just not like, well, let me just put this out there it's just random, or like this is the new hot thing to put this out there. It's like, no, this is just authentic to you. So when I see it, I actually look at it because I'm like, there's depth to it because it's you. I think depth is when something is coming from a place of authenticity for someone, and for someone else, they may have already, like you said, you may have already seen that before. You're like, oh yeah, I learned that when I was 7 years old, but you still can feel like, man, there's something that's there versus like, oh, here are all these cookie cutter things. And that's the problem, because when we can't really put our finger on it, because it just feels shallow. It doesn't feel like there's any weight to it. That's probably a better way. Like there's like, because wisdom has weight. And I think that's what people are looking for, is like more things that are weightier, what people are communicating, because, and it can be very simple how it's said, but that you can tell the wisdom there because it's been processed by someone. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people just throw things out there they heard or they think, and they don't actually sit with it. Okay, let's sit with this for a minute. What does that really mean? Okay, how would that impact this person? Is that really true? Why wouldn't it be true? Who would push against that? That's how we're called. We don't sit with things long enough. And I think that's why we used to have older writings that are so much better, because they used to just have to sit with things all day. They would just read something and they would just ponder it all day. Let me think through this. And I'm telling you, that's why of late I've started really cutting down on like the consumption of like information, because when I read something or I hear something, I want to think about it. Like I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it is about like the state of the world and all this. And I'm like, okay, how does this really, like what they're saying, is this really true what they're communicating? Okay, how does it impact people every single day? So instead of me just speeding through the podcast, I've been like just trying to ponder, like, where's the world at? How do I see this? I've heard this. And because I think that's where wisdom comes, I think you can really solve answers that way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying depth, you're not necessarily talking about conceptually, but more like this is someone being trendy, this is someone being themselves type of thing.
Yeah, okay. It's definitely that, and you can just feel like it's layered. Even if I don't even understand it, or that's not my vibe, you can. That's what I'm saying. Like for a great example, like Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is a prime example of someone where I'm like I probably maybe like a cool guy to like the interview or whatever, but like there's probably things with like Rick, he walks around with no shoes on all the time and just like whatever. I'm like, I probably wouldn't like rock with Rick Rubin, but like his book, like this How I Breathe, like the creative act, man.
Rock with Rick?
Yeah, I mean, like, but here's the thing. I mean, a great producer, but I'm saying, but when I like read some of his stuff, like when I read the creative act, you can tell the stuff he wrote, he sat with it. Now, there's different worldviews that me and him have, but he's really sat with some stuff. That's why that book was so good, because I'm like, oh, you read it like, yeah, he just didn't write, and it was really, and it wasn't like these, each chapter was a couple pages max, and he would like say a statement, and he just would unpack it a little bit, but you could feel the wisdom that was coming from it because he sat with it for a long time. Mm-hmm. I think in today's world, we need more people just to sit with things more before they communicate them. That's what I think is needed. And it's not about age. Like you said earlier, Lauren, there may be something you've been sitting with since you were 7 years old. It doesn't have to be, well, okay, when you're in your 40s or 50s that you can say something. No, there may be, but it's just the stuff you sat with that you really wrestled with. And that concept has bumped up against real life, because a lot of stuff won't handle the test of time when it has to go against real life. Because that's a cute saying. And then now reality smacks that saying. You're like, yeah, that really didn't work. Once you've done it and come to the other side of it, you have a whole different perspective on it. So,
I do think that you would rock with Rick Rubin.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that if you guys were to meet, I do think that you would really enjoy being around him.
I think I would enjoy because I think he's
even
creative stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, that was one I was probably more saying. I don't know if I would rock with him.
Would you then start to take your shoes off? No.
But I think you're right. I mean, because he's such a creative.
You're friends with a lot of very different people.
Yeah, it's true. That's definitely true.
You want to become them because you're around them, and I feel like that's what you're getting at. But I just had to say that because then I was thinking about what if one day that's clipped, but you really would rock with Rick.
That's a good point. Anyways, that's a very good point.
Now I'm thinking about all the things that could be like.
Well, but you know what though? But it's but again, that goes to this whole thing of like people could take this, they could clip it or whatever. And what I just believe is that. I know,
you clip that.
You clip that. I know. Or like if people say, "Well, you said this," and say this, and I think some of it's like, man, like okay, because like. You just cannot live anymore according to like what people are going to think you believe and not believe. I am 46 years old and I'm like, look, I have a lot of life of evidence. And so if you're going to take my life based off of one thing, then that's what you're going to do. And I don't really care. Mm-hmm. You're not someone I want to rock with anyway. If you're going to look at me and take one moment or one thing I said and not look at the evidence of someone's life. That's why when I see someone even make a mistake, right, I look at the evidence of their life. I mean, you think about relationships. Sometimes we will deem a relationship horrible because of one. And again, I'm not going to preface this, but we'll deem a relationship horrible with a friend that we had friends for 15, 20 years. And there was just a moment with them where someone lied, man, you got sideways because you couldn't see eye to eye on something, and we'll just categorize the entire relationship as bad. Versus like, no, you had one moment versus 5,000 incredible moments. And it doesn't mean that you should rock with each other now, but to justify, I just think that for me, we need to start looking at people's lives and the evidence of their life more. What have they produced? What have they done? That's why I think it's dumb when people are watching things on Love Island, whatever. I'm like, what really has this person done? They're attractive. That's literally it. Like, that's it. It's like, oh, they're attractive and they were on a show. There's no depth of anything that actually shows that, like, they should, like, influence your life. But again, we have been so trained by the algorithm to want shallow. And if you're not careful, you'll stay in that matrix for a while and you'll go through your life just living incredibly shallow. Mm-hmm. And it's really impacting. You know, I work with some college teams, whatever. I mean, you really do have to talk to players sometimes in sound bites now. You can't like explain things in long, I tell coaches, you can't explain things long, drawn out, man. The kids don't hear anything. They got 7 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, you got 7 seconds to be able to get your point across, right? Or you guys would do it in a certain rhythm of themes. Again, I think that's where we're at, but we have to actually develop that better. We have to then have moments where we actually are trying to expand people's depth of what they actually want.
Also interesting, what did you say about we just like accept shallow now?
Yeah.
On the other side of it, sometimes depth, like the definition of depth that you were talking about earlier, like, oh, this person is really themselves. Instead of seeing it as like, oh, this person's being authentic, I think a lot of times the reaction is, oh, this person is so pretentious. Like, people who are just being themselves are like, oh, you like think too highly of yourself. You want to be different so bad. Like somebody just actually existing as themselves. You're like,
nope. You're
pretentious. Like, I don't want to.
And I think that's where, and then what will happen for that person, let me back up. You're right, because of in today's world, most relationships are so codependent that when someone's normal, it seems like they're an asshole because they're actually just have like boundaries. And it's like, oh, well, that's not really care. You're like, no, because you're just being selfish. No, like, they've made these, you want me to change. This person has made this dysfunctional decision. I'm saying, no, I'm not, I don't feel responsible for helping. Now, there's some people I will feel responsible for. I'm not responsible for helping everyone. Every situation you have to judge, and people will say that, oh, man, you're just being pretentious. Or even when you're just going about your life, like, no, this is just, I know I'm good at this. And they're like, oh, you're arrogant. No, I just know I'm good at this. That's the difference if I'm going around parading that to everyone. Like, hey, I'm the greatest in the world. Like, no. But if all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'm just pretty confident. And like, I don't ask people's opinion because for me, I would ask people's opinion about stuff sometimes, not because I really wanted to know. I just wanted them to validate, am I right? Am I doing this right? Versus now, in certain areas, I'm like, no, I don't really care about anybody else's opinion on it unless you have been really good at this area. If not, I'm like, I'm not going to ask you why, because you really can't help me. And again, and that's going to sound like an idiot. Oh, you can learn from anybody. You can learn from anybody, but a lot of times I'm not going to ask. I know myself. I'm going to keep asking people stuff just for the sake of my own insecurity. And so I think when you're healthy, people do feel that way. And when you begin to be authentically you, people are going to think you're arrogant, you're a narcissist, you're whatever. And now you're going to have the resilience to remain who you are, because what you'll end up doing is shrinking back for actually pleasing everybody else instead of being who you need to be.
Mm-hmm. I know we're throwing so many different
scenarios
awesome. At you.
I love it. It's fun.
But I have two more. So one, because I saw this clip on Instagram, actually, even though I was just hating on Instagram. You liked it too. It's about small talk. And it was basically about how like not being able to engage in small talk is a sign of immaturity, which I would agree with.
Yep.
So on the other end, I feel like there can be this whole side where it's like people are performing depth.
Yes.
Where it's like, I don't like small talk. I don't want to talk about this thing. And it's like, well, and the person in the video, they were like, when have you ever been somewhere deep without walking through the shallow end first? Mm-hmm. And you can jump into the deep end. But in terms of like conversationally, and because if ultimately the goal is human connection.
Yep.
At some level, whether it's through a level of leadership, through friendship, you do have to show up as yourself and engage with other people in layers. And there are some people that are like, this is just me and this is where I want to go. And if you don't want to go there, then you don't like me.
Yeah. I think you're right. You have to understand that the point of communicating and being yourself, here's what I'll say. I think we've lost what the point of being authentic is. The point of being authentic is, yes, for you to be able to live in fullness but when it's all said and done, you want to live authentic because I think it adds the best value to the world. So sometimes for me, I love going really deep with people, but it's unkind for me and them if I go to a place that I know they can't go. I know they can't go there. And if I do go there, I'm going to look crazy. They're going to feel it's like, so I don't even go there. But I can accept where our friendship is at. I've got friends of mine who would consider me their best friend, and they're not mine. And I only know I can go to a certain level with them. And you know what, that used to always frustrate me. But what I've come to realize, like, no, that's okay. That's just where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm okay with meeting them right there. Now, it's a difference if I don't have any friends that I can't go to that super, like, deep level of relationship with. That would be a different ballgame. But I even think that, and again, this will go and it may be controversial, I think it goes in marriage. We've been told in our society and culture, like, that we've made marriage to be where your spouse has to be everything. Man, like your spouse has to, where it's this pressure that your spouse has to, they need to know everything. And here's what I mean by that. I don't ever lie to my wife. My wife ever asks me a question, I tell her the truth. But here's also,
you guys don't have a dual Facebook page.
No, we don't have a dual Facebook page. But here's the other thing too about with Wendy. There are certain things that like aren't kind to her. If I'm struggling with like suicide, depending on where she's at, that's not kind for me to just process that with her, depending on where she's at and what season of life she's in. That's not kind. That's not me. I'm hiding anything, but I'm like trying to be kind to my wife. But here's the thing. It's a different, if I have friends, I have to have a place where I can go talk that through. Here's why I say that. I think that in marriage sometimes, like, man, we can miss the blessing of our spouse or significant other because we're wanting them to be all these things. Listen, I study and look at really deep, complex things. My wife is running a dance studio. She's done a phenomenal job helping raise our children with me and all that. Wendy doesn't have time or a desire to read about like global conflict. So like it would be unkind for me to be like, well, I wish you would just talk to me on these deep levels. No, you know what? I got plenty of friends who talk to me about this stuff. So why do I need that? You know what I'm saying? I think that if we can just start having right perspective about being authentic and being a blessing to people, we can actually flourish in certain relationships knowing that those relationships aren't going to be that deep or deep as you want them to be, but they still can be a blessing in your life. Instead of it being it's either all or nothing. I think when you're at all or nothing, it's about you and it's not about being a blessing, because your depth, and this person may not be able to go that deep, is actually really good for them. It actually helps them. It grows them. And I have plenty of stories of where friends of mine, I've met them where they're at, that now our relationship has gone there, but I had to meet them where they were at. All right, guys, I hope today was actually helpful for you. I know that we jumped from different topics, but here's the thing at the end. Like we always talk about, authenticity is the key. The ability to be self-aware, now being resilient, and then the ability to take what you have to go empower the world. I think in today's world, we're in desperate need of leaders to tell the truth. And telling the truth really comes from a place of authenticity, that you are willing to go into the world, you're willing to share things, you're doing it for the flourishment of humanity. Until next time, keep writing new rules.